Hey lovelies! Today I'm sharing my new favorite winter comfort food, this super flavorful curried cauliflower soup. When it comes to a chilly winter's night, nothing beats curried cauliflower soup. It is so hearty, so comforting, and honestly, so easy to make. This recipe is also totally vegetarian, so if you're trying to eat less meat this year, this is a great place to start. Now, just before I get into today's incredible recipe, I want to remind you guys that all of my recipes can be found over on my amazing meal planning site, healthymealplans.com. It allows you to browse more than 1,000 recipes, drag and drop them into your weekly meal plan, and then automatically generates your grocery list for the week. What could be easier than that? If you haven't already, I hope you will give it a try. And now, without further ado, let's start making this incredible soup. Now, for this recipe, I'm going to be starting by roasting up my cauliflower. I should mention this is totally optional. You can make this soup without roasting your cauliflower first. But let me just say that roasted cauliflower takes on such a beautiful flavor. It's got a bit of sweetness thanks to that caramelization, and it really does make this soup something extra special. So what I have here in my pan is just 1 head of cauliflower that I've broken down into florets, and I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle on some olive oil like so. And I'm also gonna hit this with a good helping of salt. And that's it. I'm just gonna give this a quick mix with my hands to get it well coated in that oil. And then it's going to head into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about, say, 20 to 30 minutes, just until it starts to brown around the edges. Now, in the meantime, while my cauliflower is roasting, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on cooking up my soup. Now, I should mention this soup has recently gone on heavy rotation in my house. My kids love the flavor of a coconut curry, so I do a lot of different variations on it, and this soup has just been an incredible hit. There's so much to like about it, but the most important thing is how easy it is to make. Now, in my soup pot, I have got a little bit of oil heating up over medium-high heat. And just as soon as my oil is nice and hot, I'm gonna go ahead and get in here with some onion and some carrot. And I'm going to let those cook for 4 to 5 minutes, just until they start to soften up a little bit and those onions become nice and translucent. All right, so the carrots and the onions are looking great. That means it's time to get in here with even more great flavor. So I've got some minced garlic headed in here, and I'm also gonna get some freshly grated ginger into my pot. I'm gonna let that cook for another 30 seconds or so, just until it's nice and fragrant. Let's be honest, onion, garlic, and ginger, that's pretty much the start to everything beautiful. Now, the secret ingredient for making this recipe really something special is my red curry paste. You could use curry powder in this recipe if you wanted to, but in my opinion, curry paste is much more flavorful, and I always have some on hand. I like the red curry paste myself, but you could also use yellow or green depending on what you have. Now, what I'm gonna do is let that curry paste heat up in my pot, stirring it constantly for maybe a minute or so. Heating it up like this helps to activate all its flavors and just make it extra delicious. Once my curry paste is heated up, I'm gonna go ahead and add my coconut milk to this. I'm using light coconut milk in this recipe. That's just my preference. If you have full fat, that's fine too. Both are really, really delicious. And I'm also going to be adding some veggie broth here. If you want to add chicken broth here, you totally could, but if you want to keep this vegan, you can go ahead and use veggie broth. You're not going to miss a lot in terms of flavor. And then the final step is just going to be adding our incredible roasted cauliflower, which is ready to come out of the oven. Now, take a look at this incredible roasted cauliflower. You won't believe how flavorful it has become after that time in the oven. A taste test is always required. Yes, I approve. It's delicious. And it's just time to get this right into my pot. I'm gonna do that with some tongs to try to prevent a big splashback. Also, this is still quite hot. We'll just give this a quick stir. And then what we're gonna do is let this come to a nice boil. And just as soon as I start to see those bubbles breaking the surface, what I'm gonna do is reduce my heat to medium-low, pop a lid on my pot, and let this simmer for just about 10 or 15 minutes. That's really all it takes for this soup to be ready to be enjoyed. All right, friends, so it's been about 15 minutes. And you wouldn't believe how beautiful my kitchen smells. It's got this gorgeous aromatic curry smell, And now it's time to puree my soup. And honestly, for me, I always find the best way to do this is with an immersion blender like this. They're fairly affordable. You can find them online. I'll link some of my favorites in the description box below if you don't have one already. You could also do this in a stand-up blender, but you have to be really, really cautious when blending hot liquids. You can't fill your blender any more than halfway, and you have to make sure that you're releasing the steam. Otherwise, you could have a real accident. So if you are going to do this in a blender, be sure to look up the safest way to blend soup before you give it a try. Otherwise, just use an immersion blender. It's gonna make your life so much easier. So I've turned the heat off, and I'm just gonna go in here with my immersion blender and start giving it a whirl. Of course, you always wanna use a lot of caution when you're blending a hot soup like this because you don't want it to splash back on you. So make sure that you're being very, very careful. And honestly, guys, once this yumminess is blended up, it is ready to be enjoyed. I'm gonna give it a taste to make sure that the seasonings are on point. Oh, so perfect. There is so much goodness happening in this pot right now. I love to serve this up topped with a little bit of green onion, some chili peppers, and some cilantro for good measure. But this also meal preps really well. So if you wanted to store it in your refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, it's a really yummy soup to take to work for lunch. Honestly, guys, it is a must try. Super simple, super hearty, very satisfying, and perfect for a cold night. Guys, I hope you love this super flavorful soup as much as I do, and that you will give it a try for yourselves. If you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Facebook me a photo, because you know how much I love seeing your kitchen creations. This delicious recipe, like all of my recipes, can be found on our amazing meal planning site, healthymealplans.com. It's an amazing site that allows you to browse more than 1,000 recipes, drag and drop them into your weekly meal plan, and then automatically generates your grocery list for the week. How easy is that? Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.